Mouse Guard is an award-winning tabletop RPG by Luke Crane and David Petersen. It was first published in 2008, and a second edition was published in 2015. Its setting is based on David Petersen's also award-winning comic series of the same name, and the rules engine is based on Luke Crane's Burning Wheel, which I've reviewed previously on this channel. Mice all once lived in a primitive state, but some emerged as brave, intelligent, treacherous, selfless, and fallible. This new breed of mice had no special name. They simply lived and coalesced into villages and towns and castles. They gave themselves jobs and farmed the land and domesticated tiny creatures to survive. One stronghold became the center point of a brave order of mice. This stronghold, called Lockhaven, became the headquarters of the Mouse Guard, benighted ranger mice sworn to protect the rest of mousekind from the dangers of extreme weather, predatory animals, the wilderness, and other mice. Your character is a guard mouse, and you run patrol alongside other guards throughout Mousedom. The setting is the most distinctive takeaway from this book. Your character is invariably a guard mouse who roams a loosely connected mouse kingdom called the Territories. There are no humans around, yet the technology and civilization are distinctly medieval European. This premise is what makes Petersen's original comic series so fun and intriguing, aside from the illustrations and color palette. In this world, you're physically a mouse, but mentally, emotionally, and spiritually you're more like a human. Except even that is on an ever-teetering spectrum, in which throughout the course of play, you can end up becoming too human-like or too mouse-like. Let's start a character. Right off the top, you fill in a number of seemingly minor details for your mouse, but characteristic of any game based on the Burning Wheel, many of these details have great bearing on the story and the roleplay. For example, your hometown could afford you a role advantage, depending on the GM's discretion. Likewise, the name of your parents and where they live could afford your party badly needed respite or supplies. Your mentor is an off-screen NPC of your design, who might also have some bearing on the narrative. And this is the same with your named friend and named enemy, all of whom the GM should try to weave into the story at the table. You then choose a belief, which is a code or ethical stance. This statement should not be too specific or too broad. An example given in the book is, a guard mouse needs to be able to think with her head and act with her heart. By meaningfully playing your belief at the table, you can earn a fate point. Fate points are like good luck points, and they are spent after a roll to make any successful sixes re-rolls or exploding. You then choose a goal, which is a task or a mission or vow to complete, one per session. Completing a goal earns you a persona point, which you can then use to either add a die to a roll one time or to tap into your nature ability, which adds your nature rating to any test. Depending on the situation in which you tap into your nature rating will swing either towards being more human-like or more mouse-like to a fault. The mechanic for this is so central to the game that it is spelled out in its entirety on the character sheet. You then choose an instinct for your mouse, which is a stated habit or reaction. Thoughtfully playing out your instinct at the table will earn you a fate point. You then sort out your abilities. Along with the mouse nature skill, you have will, health, resources, and circle. Each of these has a max rating and are tested repeatedly throughout play. Wises are general realms of knowledge that your mouse can have. There are 4 slots here, and you can use them to add 1 die to a roll. The book lists dozens of different wises that your mouse can choose from, all themed on a naturalistic existence. There is a pool of 50 different traits for your mouse to choose from. The game will allow your mouse to have up to 5 traits, and they are used to aid in role-playing a scene. Each trait is ranked from 1 to 3, and when you are able to describe how a trait helps in a particular situation, it can add dice or even successes to a roll. If you use your trait in a negative way in a situation, it earns you a check or ability to roll for something during your turn. Those are quite valuable, but obviously, they come at the cost of using a trait against yourself earlier on. Finally, you have skills. There are 34 skills in the book, and they all range from level 1 to 6. You can start with up to 12 skills, with a max of 24 skills for your mouse. These represent your mouse's training and experience, and you can only level them up by both succeeding and failing rolls using that skill. If your scout skill is rated at 1, you need 1 scouting success and 1 failure to get it to level 2. To get your scout skill to level 3, you need 2 successes and 2 failures. When a skill levels up, all excess successes and failures are wiped from the progress bubbles, and you start building up from scratch for the next level. The end of the book contains a merciful, extremely helpful step-by-step guide on how to roll up a mouse character. The authors do not hesitate to provide all of the relevant lists for each aspect of the character, even though those lists can be found scattered throughout the book. Mouse Guard uses a D6 dice pool system. Each of your tests or checks call upon a skill or ability rating. That rating tells you how many D6s you can throw. Of course, before you make the roll, you add in any gear, trait, wise, or other bonuses in the given situation. The idea is that you have to get more successes than what the situation calls for. 1, 2, or 3 is a failure, and 4, 5, or 6 are a success. The GM can also give you a success with a 1, 2, or 3, but attach a twist or a cost to that success narratively. The difficulty of a situation, or its obstacle number, ranges from 0, which is an automatic success, to 5, which is heroically difficult. The number can even be 6 or higher for truly Herculean tasks. Mouse characters can check independently or against other creatures or characters in a versus check. The principle is the same, to get more successes than the obstacle or more than the opposing creature's roll. Each player gets 1 free check of their choice during their turn. A check allows them to narratively insert a chance to test an ability or skill. They can also earn more checks by narrating negatively against themselves during the GM's turn. The book asks players to take turns doing their checks, and not making more than 1 check in a row, although there is no hard turn order. There is a whole system for handling conflicts that uses this dice pool system as its basis, but for brevity's sake I won't cover it too much. The book provides 12 steps to set up a conflict, and there are 8 types of conflict, as well as an other. The conflict type is important because it dictates which skills would be called upon. In my opinion, the conflict system is not critical to playing in the game's setting or even using its fundamental dice pool system, but if you take the author's word for it, the system is easy to use after a couple of attempts. Your mouse and your companion mice face 4 main kinds of threats in the territories: weather and seasons, the environment, animals, and other mice. The book lovingly describes each of the 4 seasons and all of the perils that each can bring. Each season carries with it a certain number of narrative twists that a GM can introduce to the players, and some seasons are longer than others. Winter is a special season in that the players can hole up in the Mouse Guard stronghold of Lockhaven and participate in leveling up, as well as swapping out traits for their mouse. They can also receive a promotion in the Mouse Guard ranks. While not hiding from the winter cold, your mouse could be exploring one of 8 major towns or cities in the territories, as well as 17 smaller named settlements. There is also a guide in the book on how to generate your own settlement to explore. Each town is stocked with tons of mice with different jobs. There are 36 listed jobs in the book, and their thoroughness does lend a sort of plausibility to the setting, even though it's all mice we're talking about. There is also an underground weasel network, and further out, wild country. All throughout the territories, your mouse could encounter shortages, drought, famine, epidemic, rebellion, and war. And then there is a section with 46 types of wild animals, including the nemesis of mouse kind, the weasels. Of the weasels, there are 6 named types, since they have their own society, culture, and order. The game's most obvious standout quality is its unique setting, but I have to mention another quality about this book. I got the 2017 reprint of the 2nd edition for this review, a square-shaped hardback book. It is absolutely filled with Petersen's Mouse Guard illustrations. The cover and pages themselves are thick, and the pages are completely filled with beauty, color, and intention. To be honest, it's not a practically shaped book. When you open a square book, it tends to take up a lot of space horizontally. And as far as organization, sections of the book could have been consolidated. But these are minor gripes about a book that is bursting with love from 2 very different kinds of artists. Luke Crane's character-centric RPG motif, combined with David Petersen's adorable, tragic, epic mouse story, has made a unique game that somehow feels novel and classic at the same time. It asks the players to forget about humans and to scale down their universe to where snakes are basically dragons and cats are probably the end of the road for your character. But if you've had a chance to read Petersen's original stories, you know that it's not the size of the heroes that matter, but rather what they're fighting for. Links to everything are below. Thanks for watching. This is Dave signing off. See ya.